Hey guys, what's up? Nature from Protoculture and Shadow Chronicles, back again here at Sonic Academy with another how to use video. Today we're checking out Oeksound Soothe. It's a magic little plugin, will save you a ton of time. Essentially it's a dynamic EQ, but there's a lot more going under the hood, so I'm actually going to refer to it as a sort of dynamic resonant notcher. I'll show you what I mean in just a sec. Let's dive into the DAW and check it out. Cheers. Right, so before we get into Soothe, I'm just going to play you the dry signals that I have here. I've got 3 channels, a drum, a loop, a bass, and a synth bass, and then a vocal channel. And I just want you to take a listen to the sort of overall harshness when it's dry, and then we'll drop Soothe in, and you can hear the difference between the two in comparison to one another. So I'm just going to play this back first.
I'll go down these roads, I won't tell you where
That's
I'm
dry
going. No,
and wet.
These roads, I'll go down these roads, I won't tell you where I'm going. No.
So you can hear a lot of that sort of harshness being pulled out of it there with the current setup that I have. So we're going to jump into the plugin now, just go over the controls and show you exactly what this is doing. We're going to take a look at the vocal first, as this was what it was really intended for. So Soothe is, I mean, we've all sat around with our EQs pulling out resonant frequencies, specifically in bass frequencies and things like that. And more recently, we've had EQs like Pro Q3 that have a dynamic EQ component to them as well. Now, Soothe is no different. It works in very much the same way. However, it does everything automatically for you. It detects resonant frequencies and then drops those out according to a threshold. So we're going to look at the controls now quickly for this. On the left-hand side, you've got the depth dial, which acts as a sort of master threshold for your entire signal. This basically controls the sort of reduction amount for all the bands that you currently have over here. We've got a sharpness and selectivity. The sharpness is going to be the basically the Q factor for the resonant dips or filters that are going to be applied. So higher sharpness levels will result in narrower frequencies, which I'm going to show you in just a sec. And then the selectivity, a lower setting of selectivity will give you sort of more overall, any sort of resonant frequencies it'll reduce regardless. The higher you push that up, resonances that are more prominent will get pulled out more than the other ones, so it's a little bit more selective. So if you are using this as a DSF, for example, a sort of higher selectivity will pull out just those S things without leaving too much, without cutting out too much of your sound. So I'm just going to play back the vocal quickly, and we're just going to take a listen to what's going on here. We'll just solo this and bring up Soothe.
down these roads,
So currently there's no processing happening at all.
I
I'm going to
won't
dial
tell
in the
you where
depth.
I'm going. No. These roads, I'll go down these.
Obviously that's an extreme setting, so you're losing a lot of the vocal there.
I'll go down these roads.
But just to show you what's happening. So it's dynamically finding the resonances and pulling them down as the vocal plays. So we have a number of ways in which we can modify the threshold. The white and sort of dark gray bands that we have here are basically a low and high cut. By dragging this up, everything below remains untouched, so you can see
I won't tell you where I'm
that'll be affecting the whole signal as we bring this up.
going. No. These roads,
It starts limiting the processing to just this area between the high and the low band. So additionally, we have another 3 bands as well, which can be selected here. You have the frequency for each band, you have the band width, and then you have the sensitivity. So these kind of behave like EQs, although they don't affect the sound directly. What this does is the sort of detection phase. The more you boost a band, the more sensitive it'll become, and the more resonances it'll pull out. Conversely, if you pull that down, it'll become less sensitive and it will do less resonant frequencies. So we're going to just turn off, we'll turn off band 2 and we'll just work with band 3. For example, there isn't a lot of sibilance in this vocal now, but if we wanted to, for example, de-ess this vocal and pull out some of these sort of high sibilance.
I'll go down these roads, I won't tell you where I'm going.
We're going to be looking around 8K. We want to turn the selectivity up so that we are just pulling out the S's. And we can just reduce that bandwidth slightly. We're going to be around 8K. And let's say we do have a lot of sibilance. We want to turn up that sensitivity so it's going to become more sensitive in this particular area. And then that's going to be adjusted further by the global threshold. So let's take a listen there.
I'm going, no, 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 these roads.
You can adjust the sharpness so you can see what happens there.
I'll go down these roads, I won't tell you where I'm going, no, no, no.
And reduce it.
These roads.
What we can also do is audition exactly what resonances are being taken out by hitting the delta key down here. That'll basically give us a phase inverted version, so you can hear the difference between what's the original one and what's being taken out. So if we flick that on now, and we can take a listen. So that's basically what's being taken out there. Okay, so the other beauty with this is you can use it for de-essing, but for example, in this section here, where we have a bit of, let's take that down again. You can hear there's a bit of resonance in her voice. If I wanted to smooth that out, the problem with that is cutting with an EQ, even a dynamic EQ like Pro Q3. When you're up in the high end, it obviously becomes harder and harder to pinpoint resonant frequencies because the octaves become shorter and the resonant frequencies become smaller as well. So having it done dynamically like this is a huge time saver and just a lot easier to do. If we wanted to kind of control those resonances, the other problem is that she's singing different notes there. So as they move up and down, you would have to sweep through that with the EQ. And this one will do it for you automatically. So I mean, if we can increase the bandwidth there for this one. And just listen to this section here now.
These roads.
I'll switch the delta on. Maybe a little bit less. There you go. So it's basically tracking the resonances along those the pitch there and reducing it accordingly.
These roads.
We'll listen to this dry now. So dry.
These roads.
And wet.
These roads.
So just overall far smoother dynamics for that vocal now because of those resonance being ducked out. So the places that this will be really handy and super effective is sort of any acoustic instruments, guitars as well, to pull out acoustic guitars, to pull out resonances in that. It's a really, really good little tool for that. That said, you can use these in other places as well. We're going to jump into the drums quickly. For example, if you wanted to pull resonance out of the hi-hats, for example, I'm going to just disable band 2. We'll dial this in and just take a listen to the hi-hats now. So you can hear the resonance dropping out of those cymbals. In this case, it's also pulling some of the resonance out of the snares. So we can counter that by just enabling this band as well and dragging this down so that the sensitivity is less there and higher on the hi-hats. You also have a couple of extra things here as well. If you're doing quite extreme settings, you can mix the dry wet and dry wet signal in as well, just to reduce the effect slightly. You can listen to the delta as well, just to hear what it's pulling out in those hi-hats. And you can hear automatically all the resonance is going from that top end. All the overheads are being ducked out. The selectivity up and down. So it really is designed for sort of higher frequency content. That's where you really need something like this to be doing this automatically. Down below, you can actually usually pinpoint resonances a little bit easier and duck them out with a dynamic EQ. That said, this will actually function down at the bottom as well. So I've got a bass sound here, which I picked specifically because it had some sort of harsh frequencies in it. We'll take a listen to that now as well. Let's just reduce that one again and take a listen to the bass. So what I've done is I've pulled the low cut all the way down to, we'll leave it around 150. It won't go, we'll go all the way down to the bottom, but we're not going to be ducking out any of the lows here, but I'm specifically focused on this sort of 300 band around here. I've raised up the sensitivity of that a little bit and then also further up in the 6K range. Now just listen to what happens when we dial in the depth on this one. So you've got quite a bit of that sort of muddy frequency there as we dial this up. You see a lot of this resonance around this 300 mark is being pulled out dynamically now as well, which just kind of opens up the whole mix quite a bit. We can use this one to maybe reduce the amount of reduction happening there. And let's just take a listen to the difference with the sharpness. So that's a more sort of global, wider band. And as we dial this up, we'll get sharper drops. Lastly, I also wanted to just cover these down at the bottom. If you're working with stereo material, you can link the left and right channels, much like you do with a compressor. It'll treat the left and right exactly the same. It'll be the same processing. This would be fine to have to 100 when you're working, especially on mono vocals and stuff like that. If you're working on overheads, for example, you may want to actually process this as dual mono instead. In that case, we can just turn the stereo linking all the way down, and it'll treat the left and right signals independently of one another. We'll just check that out. You won't hear a massive difference, but you'll have the left and right having their own individual processors. So for a particularly wide material, I'd turn the stereo linking off and run that in dual mono instead. You also have oversampling as well. This will be more accurate. It'll probably give you a smoother result as well, especially if you're doing fairly drastic cuts with this. It will give you quite a lot of processor load though as soon as you start going into these 4 times oversampling. And the resolution, you can go up to ultra with this. With sort of fine adjustments with quite sharp bands, the ultra sometimes gets sort of audible effect that you can hear from that as well. But obviously the detection phase just happens more often with this, so you do get more accurate results of where the actual resonant frequencies are happening. Cool. Other than that, that pretty much covers it. You've got a resizable GUI if you want to get up close and personal with this. Your factory presets are all located here, and then you have a A/B, so you can A/B different settings. And then you also have the ability to copy A to B or B to A, depending on which one you are on currently. Also configuration options in the top, but nothing much to speak of here, just OpenGL, graphics acceleration, and tooltips. So that pretty much covers it for Soothe. It's a very simple plugin in theory to use, but it does do some incredibly complex stuff under the hood. And it's a massive time saver, especially if you're working with acoustic material, just to be able to pull out those resonances without much work at all, and just leaves you with a really nice, smooth, controlled signal without a lot of work at all. So definitely go check this one out. Highly recommended. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will catch you guys again soon right here on Sonic Academy. We're back again. So a few days after recording of this video, Oeksound actually announced version 2 of Soothe at NAMM 2020. Whilst the plugin functions pretty much the same as Soothe 1 in its operation, there are a few notable differences. So we've got a copy here. We're going to check out a few of the upgrades in version 2. Let's take a look. Right, so the first thing we're going to check out is they've updated the algorithm for Soothe 2. In fact, they've actually rewritten it from the ground up. Whereas the first one was kind of optimized for sort of high, mid frequencies. The new algorithm basically covers the entire spectrum. While you could get it to work in the version 1, it's now a lot more effective in the lower area. So pulling out sort of resonant, muddy frequencies is a lot easier with this now. Just coming down to the control section, it all looks pretty similar apart from a few additions. You now have control over soft and hard mode, the hard mode being closer to the original. Just got an acoustic guitar running through here. If we use the soft mode, you'll see it's far more transparent. And far less noticeable than the hard mode. You'll also see that we have a attack and release time now available to us, that you can actually change the attack and release time for the dynamic resonant filters. They have also added in a mid-side mode, which can be accessed there. You can balance between the two, only mids and only sides. This is really nice. In particular, I find for the low areas, if you want to pull out muddy frequencies that might be interfering with the kick, you can pull those out just of the mids where the issue would mostly lie. You can do this by moving your band down to the problem frequency, for example, and you can set the balance to only sides or only mid over there, and have that just pull out resonant frequencies out of the mid channel by itself. You can see they've also added an additional node as well for you to work with. And lastly, one of the other updates, they've redone the graphics engine as well, so the the display runs a lot smoother, and the plugin also has been optimized quite heavily, so it's I believe around 40% more efficient than it used to be, and there is quite a bit of stuff going on under the hood, so a bit of optimization is definitely welcome. This is a paid upgrade for Soothe 1 owners. However, I think some of these features definitely make it worth your while. I hope that helps, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will catch you guys again soon right here on Sonic Academy. Cheers.
Thanks everybody for watching, commenting, and indeed liking. We really do appreciate all the support we get here on our Sonic Academy YouTube channel. So if you found this video super useful, please, we'd love you to hit the subscribe button. We update the YouTube channel every week with new content. And if you want to watch some more relevant content, just click on the videos beside me.